Okay, welcome to Chaos and Coffee. My name is Justin Brown. Your comments drive the content. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. What are we talking about?
We're talking about censorship and fake news.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Censorship on YouTube. That's the hot button topic.
Yeah, censorship on YouTube, fake news in general. I was saying have a handful of sites that you trust and kind of vet that information, see if the information checks out across a couple sites,
I like to, I'll sit and watch them all and then sit back myself and look at what's actually going on at the moment and try to determine for myself what the truth is.
I think the thing that the only thing that they harp on, the only reason they can justify that of bringing these like Ministry of Truths out and saying, oh well, this is fake news, because a lot of people don't do that. They don't like cross-reference different things. They don't look at they don't listen to the right side and then the left side, and they don't go to try and find different points of view. So a lot of people just sit in their echo chambers. But that's not really a justification, I don't think, to start deciding what's true or not, because no one's unbiased. There's no such thing as an unbiased human. It just doesn't exist.
Very true.
One of the most worrying things is that I heard that Firefox is supposed to be investigating ways of flagging fake news. And some people confused this with, apparently George Soros was doing something similar, or was funding something similar. And as far as I'm aware, they mix the two up, or they assume that they're the same thing. Maybe they are the same thing, and is handing them money under the table. I don't know. I don't see his bank records or anything. But regardless, like, a lot of people seem to have ignored that that Firefox is doing this at all. They're like, oh well, he's not in. Like, it's not directly related to George Soros, so we'll just throw the whole thing out. And people aren't focusing on the actual problem of a web browser actually starting to look into ways of saying, oh well, this is fake news. I don't know how they're planning on doing it. I don't think they've actually got a direction yet, but the fact that they've actually set up anything at all to start investigating fake news, it's worrying. I don't want them to start, like, I don't know, you go on a search engine and they're like, oh, this might be fake news or something, or maybe it'll force you to see, like, like when you try to go to a HTTPS sort of encrypted site and maybe their certificate's out of date or something, it gives you that warning message. Like, I imagine maybe they'd do something like that, like, oh well, this might not be true, I don't want it. It bothers me. But there's not many.
It's censorship is all it is. I mean, you're taking away people's right to free speech. I mean, you don't have to like it. Not everything I say everybody's going to agree with. I'm going to offend somebody somewhere, and then just turn around and tell me, oh, you can't say that because some bum or something somewhere has a problem with what you said. Well, fuck him. That's his problem.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have the right to speech, say whatever in the hell we want to, true or not.
Yeah.
I mean, Fox News here recently, and I mean recently, as in the past 5 years or so, I think it was, they asked one of their news people to report on a fake news story. And the reporter didn't want to do it, so Fox News fired him. So he turned around and sued Fox News. And Fox claimed in court that they have the right to say whatever in the hell they want to, whether or not it's true. His job was to report what they told him to report. He didn't do it. He got fired.
Yeah.
The judge stood up for Fox News and thus basically just said that, hey, news stories don't have to tell the truth.
Yeah, that is dirty. It's really dirty, but I suppose they're right in a way that if we want, as much as I loathe to say it, if we want for us to have freedom of speech, I guess the media need to be able to lie. But that's one of the reasons why I don't trust the media at all.
I'm pretty much one of those, you know, if you want to have that freedom, you got to take the bad with the good. You have to stand up for the people you don't agree with.
Yeah, yeah.
However, when it's a news media, I think that there is an implied agreement there that they will be telling you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose maybe you could try and put restrictions on them, like limit their freedom of speech and say, well, you don't have the same rights as an individual. You're there to, as objectively as possible, report on the truth. But then you get into really muddy waters, and it'd be really difficult to enforce something like that. So I don't know.
Yes,
there doesn't seem to be a clear answer.
No, there's not, and there never is.
No.
The thing about news organizations, though they can, like we're saying, like not tell the truth necessarily. Police officers don't have to tell the truth either. There's quite a few people of authority in our society that don't have to tell the truth legally. You know what I mean? The thing is, news agencies can be held accountable for libel, I believe, when it's written slander.
Yeah.
Where if they were to say something about, particularly like a CEO of a company or a politician.
Like when they slandered PewDiePie and said that he was a Nazi.
There you go.
God.
Yeah, there's
nail on head for me.
Yeah, there's bona fide racists, and then there's the term racist getting thrown around quite a bit, you know?
Yeah. This is one of the crazy things to me. Even some like the I'm mixed race. To me, I don't care about racists. As long as they're not actually committing violence, as long as they're not running around the street just beating people up just because they're a different color. I don't care what they believe. Like they can hate my very existence. They can think that I'm impure and I'm not white enough or not brown enough. Like it doesn't affect me. It's irrelevant to me. And to be honest, like in this current climate, I'd rather side with people that don't even think I should exist, that hate my guts just because of my skin color, before I'd side with like this ministry of truth, these social justice warriors that want to shut people up. Like I'd side with people that hate me just so I can defend their freedom of speech. That it doesn't bother me as long as they're not committing violence. I don't see an issue myself.
I feel you.
I grew up with that sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Yeah.
They told us that when we grew up, and what happened to that? Like, now words are just as bad as violence, and especially in England, like if you say something or like abuse someone over the internet, then they're equating that to exactly the same as being in real life. And that's really messed up to me, especially as I have mental health problems, and I came up with the idea. Well, that's probably the wrong way of putting it, but I felt that instead of taking my aggression out in the real world and doing actual real world damage and ruining people's lives around me, I figured I'd take it to the internet, because people can just block me. Like they have tools. And if they actually reached out and said, "Oh, look, you're going too far," I'd just stop. But now it's not going to be like that anymore. You're going to have people knocking on your door over a Facebook post or something, and people getting fired just over making posts and stuff. And it's getting too much. It's really getting too much.
I
blurred the lines.
Yeah, it blurs the lines.
You know, the last job I had, one of the requirements was that I have a Facebook page so that my employer could check up on me.
There was a requirement?
Yes, I just straight up told them I don't have a Facebook page. They said, oh, well, any social media you have, just let us know. And I said, I don't use social media. Kiss my ass.
That's messed up.
Yeah, they want to keep tabs on people.
We'll have to make a bot or something, and it just automatically uploads random cat pictures.
There you go. Posts. Yeah.
Oh, well, this is my social media.
There's bots like that. You could buy a Twitter bot cheap. I'll get you a Twitter bot by Tuesday.
I do need like if there's any free bots out there, then just shoot them my way, because I've started a Discord channel just dedicated to bots and AI. Like that's what I want to do moving forward. Like I've always wanted to get into AI, and I like Elon Musk's OpenAI project, so I want to start getting involved in that. And I'm not smart enough to get hired by them, but maybe I could start a community around it and at least maybe work up to that.
Maybe you could build something cool and useful out of it.
Yeah, that's my plan. Like
really,
some sort of a system.
So far in the world of AI, all I see is a bunch of toys and gimmicky bullshit.
Yeah.
Nothing that really, in my mind anyways, is really suited to AI.
Yeah, it's not on that level yet. I want to build it into an operating system. Like I use Arch Linux a lot, and the update process is kind of weird. And a lot of the times, like if something goes wrong, you'd have to go to the Arch wiki. Like it'd be pretty straightforward to, well, not straightforward, but I can imagine it quite easily. I know the process to do it, but like if something went wrong, like it can be reading like dmessage output, like if any kernel errors are going on, or if there's any silent errors, I don't know, some like little bonsai buddy type thing could pop up in the corner like, hey, something's going wrong, this is how you fix it. Or maybe it'll just do it automatically or something. But yeah, I don't like going to forums. That's one of the biggest things. Like, and I want it just to, I don't know, if it doesn't understand what the error is, maybe I could try and get into machine learning and teach it how, like, teach it to know how to fix the problem the next time around or something.
Well, that sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, to help in the update process as well. Like the only problem with Arch Linux is updating it. If you don't know what you're doing when you're updating it, you could mess something up.
Yeah,
that's the only time it goes wrong. Yeah, if I could help that sort of process, if updating it was seamless, then I could throw Arch Linux on anything, on a complete newbie's computer, and it would just deal with the update process itself, and I wouldn't have to worry about it.
That's cool.
What's the I'm sorry, I know we're getting a little bit into the archaic here, but what's the package manager again? Yum?
It's Pacman.
Pacman?
Pacman, yeah.
The packages Pacman, yeah.
Yeah. I learned on Arch Linux, so like I don't use it to, and I like the meme of just pretending to be superior and stuff, and Arch Master Race and stuff like that.
Arch is definitely Arch. For those who don't know, those who are watching, there's an operating system called Linux. Sometimes I rant about it, and not on stage or anything, thank God. But Linux has a very, very cutting edge, I'd say the bleeding edge, and it's called Arch. It's symbolized with Arch, a big A. And yeah, it's really hard to install, and I haven't played around with it enough to really understand the difficulties of updating with it. But having a good updater, like
that would help.
Debian or Ubuntu or Linux Mint has a really great updater.
I don't want it just to be an updater though. That's why I say that I'm not just creating.
Oh yeah, I understand. You want a completely sentient OS. Dude, we've talked about it before. Yeah.
Like there's a film called.
Would be cool.
Yeah, I envision it something like that. That it just basically be like reading your emails and talking to you and just helping out. But I'd build it up
cloud based.
Start it from there. I don't want it to be cloud-based because I don't want to deal with people's data. And
Right.
this is what I don't like about was it Cortana and things like that, because it's sending your data off to a server somewhere, and then I'm gonna have to keep things private and worry about encryption and stuff. And with it being Linux, I want a Linux version of Cortana, essentially, that you can talk into it. And I don't know, you'd probably have to set up your own server. I'd just open source it all and say, hey, if you've got a server somewhere, then set this up there and just do it yourself, and then I'll just push updates out, like whenever someone learns, like whenever I teach it something, or if it learns itself, then I don't know, it pushes an update out to people or something.
That'd be a great idea, actually. I mean, I really hate Cortana, but most of my hatred toward Cortana is the lack of control over the damn thing and the fact that it's all cloud-based.
That's what I imagine, like, because I worry about that as well. I don't like the idea of my data going to somewhere else. It's why I turn it off. But if you know, like, especially if you're a Linux guy, if you know where your data's going, you're all in control of it, then it's all good. I don't feel comfortable with other distributions. Like, that's the reason I keep using Arch, because I learned how to use Linux on Arch. It's the only reason I know how to use the terminal at all is through Arch. So whenever I'm dealing with a package manager, it's just, if I go on anything else, like I kind of know Debian, I know, like, but yeah, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable on the other ones. Like, I remember I tried out OpenSUSE recently, and I do like it. Because they've started a rolling distribution as well, and they've got like a nice GUI update and package manager sort of thing. But I was looking through the commands to do it in the command line, and I was like, oh god, I really don't want to learn another package manager. This makes me feel uncomfortable. So I don't know. It's just what drives me, really.
There's literally. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just know what, because I've done everything myself, and I know what's going off with my computer. So, yeah, if it's all done automatically, then I don't know what's going on. I just like fully customizing everything, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. You just addressed some of my biggest issues with Windows 10. Is your lack of control.
Yeah.
Your data is being spewed out to Microsoft servers. And if you read your EULA, once that information reaches their servers, they own it, not you. Right?
Yep.
And then lack of customization. I mean, and they just came out with their new GUI, but it only works on certain applications. It's not a system-wide thing. And it seems like all their themes are the same way. And I don't understand that kind of crap. It makes the whole OS feel disjointed to me.
Yeah, there is a big disconnect. And I don't like that. I like to know exactly what's going off. I've started blocking things in my host file as well. Like, I was looking through, and there was a little part on Windows 10 where, because Windows 10 sends off that telemetry data and stuff, and I've even done that thing where you're supposed to be able to turn it off, like there's a third-party app or something to disable all the spine stuff, but it doesn't really work. A lot of the times I'll still Control-Alt-Delete look in my task manager, and there's still stuff going backwards and forwards, but I just figured, fuck it, I'll go into my host file and start disabling it. So,
well, yeah, you can't block Microsoft's own services through your host file. It goes right around it.
How does it avoid your host file? Though? I thought host file no idea,
but there's a guy online. I think the name of his show is Nerdgasm. And the guy, he was a ex-engineer for the Windows team at Microsoft. And he talks a lot about these issues, but he was showing how to use your host file
Yeah.
To block certain websites. So he was like, well, here, I'm gonna redirect Bing to Google. But when he put Bing in his search bar, it went straight to Bing and not Google. It worked for other websites and other services, but none of the Microsoft stuff. It just went right around the host file.
Mm. That's weird. That's really. I'd love to know how that actually works. Like, what's going on behind the scenes for that to occur.
And, you know, when it's all baked into the OS, it's hard to to even get an idea of how the hell they did it. I mean,
yeah, that's what makes me nervous about this. It's why I want to only be using Windows in a virtual machine ideally, but it would take a long time to set that up, and I need another monitor and another graphics card. And oh god.
Time for a station identifier. You're watching Chaos and Coffee. My name is Justin Brown. Today I have some of the people who escaped Tron.
Yeah.
Dude, I love how, like, honestly, like, we could be in the middle of downtown, right, and talking about package managers and like Windows managers or like OSs or browsers, right? And it sounds like we're talking about some fantasy land. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, no, I use Firefox and I modified it so it can run a few different scripts for scanning. And yeah, Pac-Man's great. I'm using Aptitude. Like it's just a bunch of words that like a non-super user would be like, please stop with the fantasy talk.
Yeah. The norm is.
Yeah. I mean,
I think girlfriend just look at me and go, I didn't understand a word you said.
Yeah. Yep.
They have that sort of vacant look on their face, sort of like the tumbleweed going through their head, like
exactly.
Like, no idea.
Yeah, yeah. My wife uses Linux and she basically uses it. She doesn't really have to understand how to compile something, or you know what I'm saying?
That's Cheryl. She knows how to use Linux, but anything more than that, and she's lost.
I think there should be the two levels like that. I think there should be the visual interface where people can understand it and be able to use it and be able to update it, no problem. And then I think there should always be the ability to open up a terminal and get down into the nitty gritty, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. I think so. When I'm going to try to like play a little bit of devil's advocate, right? Like when Microsoft has the ability to open up a command terminal, which it does, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's them trying to.
That's all I use on it. Like, if my VPN drops or something, if I want to know like where my signal is going through or something, then I'll just do a trace route, see how many hops I'm going through.
And so they try to like at least provide the tools for the IT world that uses Windows, right? We were talking about earlier, like fake news or like biased news, and Fox News. Dude, this in America, it's just a known.
Yeah. I've heard of Fox News. That they've got a lot of sort of propaganda on there.
Yeah. But the last couple of months, like the last, I don't know, let's say 2 months, they've been actually like telling the truth because things have gotten so bad over here.
I have noticed that actually, but then they've seen an opportunity really, because they've noticed that there's a sort of gap in that market of people actually telling the truth. So they know they can start to sway people over their side because they realize people are like hyper vigilant on spotting like lies and truth now. That's the hot button topic. So if they actually start telling the truth, then they can start bringing people over. But once they brought the people over, I imagine that's when they'd start like slightly veering off, and they'll start like slipping the propaganda in there, you know, when it's died down a bit.
I think when the son took over, the old man like died or retired. So his son took over, and then they've been firing a bunch of like the old
guard.
The old guard. Yeah, that's a great term. Yeah, the old guard.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. Like if they're making a change in direction, if they're actually going to be properly conservative and not just pumping out propaganda and neocons, like, oh, the goddamn neocons, I hate them.
Yeah, there's like conservatives and there's neoconservatives and there's liberals and there's neoliberals, and it's just like I'm kind of just finally getting my grasp on both those as well.
Yeah, the neocons are the bad guys. The conservatives just want to. It's like, can't things just be how they used to be? Like, just trying to preserve things. It's like it's kind of good as it is. Like, how I imagine it is, if you imagine a radio and there's lots of dials instead of just one, and you're there kind of fine tuning it, and you're getting really close to a perfect signal. And like most of the dials are all right. Like some of them are a little bit off. You're like, oh, well, let's do a little bit of tweaking. Being conservative, I feel it's kind of being like, okay, let's just keep it as it is and just we'll slightly dial it a little bit to the left or the right. Like just do a tiny bit of fine tuning. At the moment, I see the progressives as this sort of like lumbering guy that sort of like plods over and is like, oh, let's tune it. And he just like messes the whole thing up and is like, just dial it all the way to the left, and then it just ruins everything. It's kind of,
our politics are inverted. So any American viewers, please understand, over there in Britain, their politics are pretty much inverted. Like we want to take over the world. They want to isolate. their progressives are super like different than our progressives, and so it's there's a translation thing, because like your conservatives, right, are pretty much for the status quo, like what we would call a moderate over here, where it's just like, let's just keep going, keep things as they are, like you were saying.
Yeah,
let's
maybe slightly dialing back.
But no, over here you have two lumbering things, right? We have a lumbering conservative one that goes, dial it to the right, no abortions for anybody, and I want to own people, right? And I wish I was joking, dude. Okay, and then the other party, right, is a big lumbering chick with a pink mohawk. Yeah, and she comes in and she goes, you triggered me, right? And she turns it all the way to the left, and yeah, and that involves basically women with turkey basters repopulating themselves to fight a war against mankind. And I mean mankind. You know what I mean? That's America. That's the American dichotomy. That's why I'm in the middle. It's like, as wild and crazy as I am, I'm married with a kid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah.
In your world, I'd be a conservative. Here,
yeah, I guess I go by the standard definition of conservative rather than what they just call people like.
Right.
They're like really far right. That's what I see them as, like extreme far right sort of thing. But
here, conservative is a catchphrase for Nazi, and where you're at, progressive is a catchphrase for Nazi. What was UKIP? What was UKIP? They were progressives, yeah.
UKIP is. It's difficult.
Are they still around or no?
Some people call them racists.
Okay.
I don't think I'm sure there are some racists in there, but yeah, I like Nigel Farage. I think he left though. UKIP wanted to split from, as long as I'm thinking of the right party, because there was another party that was outright racist.
Maybe like if I said Tea Party over here, like I could pretty well point to the Tea Party people.
Yeah,
they're in power right now.
They wanted to split from Europe. They're the ones that helped us get away from Europe, and I always wanted to get away from Europe. The funny thing is when the actual vote came round, even though throughout my life I've always wanted to get away from Europe, when I actually had the vote, I actually voted to stay in, but not because I like Europe. I hated Europe. I'd love to get away from it. I was worried about the economy. There was so much propaganda on both sides that I was thinking, well, I don't want the economy to tank. I'm not really sure what had happened. And to be honest, I don't think we could fully get away from Europe. I wasn't confident in them to negotiate a good deal. So
plus
I kind of voted to stay.
Like
I'm glad we did leave, to be honest. The economy didn't tank, So
there's a couple of European countries that are really, really tanking right now. Yeah. Poland, I think.
What?
I think Poland and Greece and a few others are tanking. Yeah, okay. So UKIP was conservative, and they wanted to be isolationist. What's the Progressive Party there? Like a worker party or what?
I'm
not really familiar.
Sure,
we have a lot of parties compared to us, you know.
Yeah, I started to retreat out of politics a little bit, until there's actually a vote. Then, like, I don't really look into it. I pay more attention to what's going off in America, to be honest, because England's kind of doomed at the moment. I feel like we're going so far downhill. Like, we have kind of been taken over by progressives. Like, we're starting to follow in your shadow.
Who would the progressives be? Are they just called the progressives?
Oh, the actually, I do know. It's the what is it? Is it Labour? You know the Jeremy Corbyn guy?
Oh yeah, Labour.
He's a fucking whack job.
Oh man, we're on such opposite sides of the.
Yeah, we are on fully different sides of it. Like, most of my friends, to be honest, like, I don't know anyone that agrees with me in my politics. All of my friends are on the complete opposite side of the fence to me in some way or another. Like, I'd consider myself, like, half jokingly, I'd say that I'm like a militant carnivore, and my best friend is a vegan. She's a vegan.
Yeah.
But it's always been like that. I find it more entertaining. It challenges me, and I feel like I'm surrounded by yes men when there's people that. It's nice for occasionally people to agree with me and stuff, but if people agree with me too much, I kind of get bored of it, if I'm honest. Like, I want to be challenged in different ways, and that just doesn't happen very often anymore. Everyone's sticking with their own kind, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of open argument I see, but that's because comedians are all about free speech, you know. So people, I
am fully for free speech. Whoever I have to side with to get freedom of speech, I'll side with, no matter who they are. Really, I don't hold any allegiances. I'll side with people who I feel like can get me what I want. So a lot of the times I vote tactically, or like I'll side with groups tactically, but I'm not sort of loyal to any one group. I won't follow them into the grave, sort of thing.
I just don't like extremes. Like, I don't like the extremeness of some of these groups, or even just as it affects me. Like, you'll be on stage and saying some jokes, and you'll get a person on the right going, "You can't say that." And then you get you go to a different town, you tell maybe the same joke, right? And you get somebody on the left going, "Oh, you can't say that." And it's like, you came to a comedy show, man, you know?
Like right-wing social justice warriors as well as left-wing social justice warriors. And the morally outraged. I really don't like that. I do fully believe, and I don't like restricting speech in any way, because language is a tool of communication, and I don't think we should be focusing on the words that we use. The important part is the intent and the actual message that you're trying to communicate to the other person. And in a way, even though language is used to communicate, it's kind of a barrier in the same way, because sometimes there's slight deviations of definitions, and people might have different experiences with words and stuff. So there's already kind of a barrier there. So if you're kind of internally monitoring what you're saying and restricting what you're saying in any way, then the message gets more and more diluted. And it's even getting to the point of where, like, someone would say, well, the other person, the person they're saying something to, they'll misinterpret what they were saying, and then they'll say, "Oh no, that's not what I actually meant." And then it's as if they say, like, "Oh well, I don't care what you meant. This is how I interpreted it." And I'm like,
right.
That blows my brain.
I think rather than dilute it, or to use another analogy, a filter or not, right? So if we don't have a filter over what we say, we will, as you were saying, release our pure intent, you know, like our most pure intention by just stream of consciousness, just free flow speaking. As opposed to really monitoring our words, which in my mind, I wouldn't think of like diluting it with dirt. I would think of it as like filter that actually omits some of the words that might cause confusion. And that'd just be my angle of it, my perspective.
Yeah, that analogy works as well. It's it's the same thing of what I'm.
Yeah,
I've noticed that as well. That a lot of arguments, a lot of the times they're not even on different sides. They're arguing semantics. Like they're both in essence agreeing with each other, but they're using different words to communicate what they're trying to say. And I kind of sit back watching them both thinking, why are you even arguing? They're on the same side and they don't realize they're on the same side a lot of the time. So it's quite amusing in a sad way.
Well, a lot of times too, they use those little tiny things to further separate and divide each other.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, they are saying exactly the same things, but they want you to think that they're on a different platform altogether. It's always been one of my issues with politics.
Yeah. They want you to agree with their narrative. This is my story. You need to agree with my story. It'd be boring if everyone was all the same. This is why I don't like the idea of communism or like of restricting sort of even fascist, racist. I don't want them to go from the world because it'd be dull. Imagine how boring the world would be if everyone agreed with each other. Like, oh well, we're all sat in this giant echo chamber, no arguments. Like, oh god, that would be torture for me. No intellectually stimulating conversations. What's the point in even communicating anymore? Because we all agree and we're all on the same page.
Well, yeah, that's how I essentially view the afterlife. When people talk about, you know, any type of afterlife, regardless of the religion, right? Like Christianity or Judeo or Islam or even a lot of Eastern religions have some type of afterlife. I go, how boring would it be where everybody's on the same level and the same page? Like, what are they even going to say to each other? They all know it already, you know?
Yeah, that goes to there's a Lamb of God song, and there's a quote in there where it says like, one man's paradise is another man's living hell. It's probably taken from another quote somewhere, but I've always thought that about the idea of an afterlife. If an afterlife does exist, I imagine it'll be exactly as it is now, because otherwise you couldn't create one place where everyone would be happy. Like, what? Oh, we're all going to go to that giant echo chamber in the sky after we die. That's hell for me. Like, even like I live all my life as a really honorable person or something and never do anything wrong, and then you go to heaven and everyone agrees with me, and that'd be hell for me. That'd be torture. I hate the idea of that. So unless there was lots of multiple different heavens or something, I don't see how it could function in that way.
There's a really great movie called What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams.
Oh, that is a great movie,
and I highly recommend it. It's how I hope it works. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it shows it in a very, I almost want to say, realistic way. It's a really good movie, dude. What Dreams May Come.
It is.
I love it.
Robin Williams. Dude, I promise it is so good.
1998.
It's one of the best movies. It's definitely in my top 20. You know what I mean?
Oh, actually, I have watched this. Yeah, this is a good film. Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, I hope it's like that. If there is one, I hope it's like that, where everybody kind of creates their own heaven.
Yeah.
And yada yada.
But then, I imagine like they could be quite isolating in some ways.
Oh, I imagine,
Like you'd have to sort of, I don't know, duplicate souls or something. And I do really imagine like the saying, as above, so below. Yeah. I imagine the afterlife to be exactly the same as it is now, just a whole clusterfuck of people,
right?
Essentially function in the same way, but on a higher dimension, sort of thing. I imagine that you just sort of go up through the dimensions until you basically just become space itself or something, and then you just restart from the beginning again.
That's very Egyptian.
Yeah.
The ancient Egyptians didn't believe in an afterlife the way we think of it. They thought the afterlife was, well, just like it is here.
Yeah. My belief, I do kind of cherry pick different beliefs from different religions and stuff. I like that more because then you're kind of customizing your own beliefs. Like you're taking the best of different things, and just because some guy a long time ago dreamt it all up doesn't mean is entirely true. Maybe there's like an element of truth in each one. Maybe they're just, and then they're just filled in the gaps with their own beliefs. So
I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's more respectful that way, because actual organized religion, I feel, is too static. It doesn't change over time, and this is the problem that Islam has at the moment, that they need to essentially create like the equivalent of the New Testament. They need to rewrite it. They need to take out sort of the toxic parts and bring it up to date with the modern world. But they're like, oh well, this is the word of God, so they just don't change. They end up staying exactly the same, and it grows stale, and people start to move away from it, and there ends up being big splits and arguments in it. So yeah, it's a lot better to be like water than to be like a stone.
Well, then you have all the dogma too that's tacked onto that. Crap that they believe that's not even in there. And it's same with Christianity or any organized religion.
Yeah, there's a lot of dogma.
But I've even found a lot of truth in things like the Satanic Bible or.
Oh yeah, that's where I started off really. In Satanism and Luciferianism, they really encourage you to sort of be the god of your own religion. That's essentially the core of the beliefs, is that whether or not that you believe in an actual god, like, it's irrelevant in Satanism whether you're an atheist or a deist or somewhere in between. It doesn't really matter. Essentially, you're the sort of central point of that. And most independent Satanists, like, I don't like the Satanic Church. I find them too arrogant, and they dismiss any other type of Satanism. After LaVey died, it just went downhill really. But independent Satanism it's a lot better. You'll find people just taking bits and pieces from lots of different religions and stuff, and they kind of piece it all together. And eventually a lot of them end up not even identifying as a Satanist anymore, because they've kind of constructed their entire own belief system, which is the point that I ended up getting to, that even though I still wear my pentagram, like, I don't even have a name for it. I just essentially have my own belief system, my own sort of personal religion.
Right. Now, that's the way it should work. And there are a lot of people out there like that. However, at the same time, you do have the people who go the other way with it, who's like, well, let man do as man will shall be the law and the whole of the law. Well, that means I can do whatever the fuck I want to. And if that's sacrificing children or, raping kids or something of that nature, well, then I'm going to do it. And my religion's going to allow me to.
See, those guys are forgetting like a major rule when they do that first part, right? Is harm none.
Harm none. Yes. That's what my girlfriend's Wiccan, and every time I make that quote, she always adds, "But harm none." And
harm none. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a pretty good part of the rule. It really limits you from doing all that evil stuff.
The whole quote, or like the revised quote or something, like, the whole thing is something along the lines of do what thou wilt is the whole of the law, love is the law, and something or other. I can't remember the rest of it. But it's supposed to relate to your magical will, and it's not supposed to be a way of justifying just doing whatever you want. Like, it's clarified a few times that it doesn't actually mean do whatever you want. It's supposed to be like, if you're at the heart of your, like, if in your essence you're like a painter or something, or you're an artist, then that's the thing that you should pursue regardless of anything else. That it's supposed to be about embracing what you actually are, regardless of anyone else, of any external sources, and embrace it, sort of thing.
Life itself, it gives humans this message, right? Like this long, it's a long script. Like, if somebody were to get hit by a lightning bolt and start spewing out what the universe wants to tell us right now, it's a long list. And so, like the laws of a religion are dwarfed compared to like the laws of science and the universe, right? So a lot of these cats were handing down. I like to think of it like a stained glass window at a church, right?
Yeah.
It got like broken, right? And so all these people took these little shards they had of the truth, right? And they ran off in their different directions. And now everybody's coming back together kind of and going like, I have this part and I have this part. Like,
yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it, actually. Yeah.
Human beings are very much, okay, human beings are very powerful as a group, as a species, and even as individuals, right? And we've created so many different stories to empower ourselves, like the idea of gods themselves, right? Like, so that we can go to war and not be scared, or so that we could do atrocities to other people's right next door in another kingdom because we had a different, like literally semantics, like you were saying earlier. It's like they do the same thing as us. They take the same day off. They wash their hands like we do. They have kids like we do. They get married like we do, but they call it a different name. You know what I mean? It's like what? Like
on the wall,
and it hasn't stopped. Like it's still going on now. Like it's like so you have a system of government that manages for the people to some degree, and we have one that doesn't at all. But you know, they're common enough. It's like no, theirs is a parliamentary monarchy, and ours is supposed to be a democratic republic. Whatever. Cross the seas, right? You go across the seas, and it's like this Chinese republic is like gearing along, just doing their thing, producing cars and little fans and cell phones and all the things we want, right? And we're like, oh, they're bad because they're communists. It's like that doesn't look like communism at all. That doesn't look like communism. It's like high-rise buildings, like
it can't ever exist. I don't think that's the issue that I have with it. That it ends in genocide. Because well, what do you do with the people that don't believe in communism? Well, most of them they get sent to the gulag and they get
the gulags. That's the solution, man. The gulags.
But then. Yeah, I don't think everyone's equal. Like, I think everyone should have an equal opportunity to rise and fall. I strongly believe in a meritocracy, that you should rise and fall based on your merit. That the intelligent
who judges in a meritocracy, though. Who in a meritocracy ultimately you have judges, yeah. Like you have people
you've got a hierarchy. I still believe in a hierarchy. I don't think that a road sweeper should get paid the same as a doctor. Like because it takes a lot more intelligence to become a doctor than it does to.
Sorry, I just pictured the picturing of a road sweeper. Just blew my mind. I don't think we even have those. They both get houses, though. You know,
like you just got like the inverse vacuum cleaner. It just blows out air and it just blowing leaves about. And I'm like, you're basically paid to be the wind. What the fuck? Like, I don't want that guy to be paid the same as like someone, you know, like in a like to be a pen tester or something, like one of the best in the like best computer guys in the world, and then there's just this guy going outside your door in the morning. They're both getting paid.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Now. Yeah, that's a good point. They both should have housing though, and they both should have medical and at least the basics provided for them. But yeah, you know,
I believe in a social safety net to a degree. Yeah, but yeah, I take issue when it is. When they start to when they don't believe in private property, when it gets to the extremes and stuff like, and they're like, oh, well, everything like there's two sorts as far as I can tell. There's either you either have elected representatives, so you have a government. So essentially, it doesn't get rid of the class issue because then there's the ruling class, which is the government, which they'll end up with more, and then there's everyone else. So then there's rulers and the ruled. Or there's the second type, the anarcho-communism, where there is no government, where I can't imagine how we'd have any modern day things at all. Like, we'd essentially be regressing back into really sort of like back into the mud hut sort of days. And unless the entire world gets on that same train, how would trade even happen? Like, you say if America went full communism, right? But England didn't. But we was like, oh, we want to trade with you. who did we talk to? Oh, well, there's no leaders over there. And then they'll essentially be like de facto temporary leaders in each sort of little tribe and different areas. I'm like, so we can't just go to one person to get these resources. We need to talk to like essentially like what, thousands, millions of people to try and strike up some sort of deal. And then like, yeah, it descend into chaos. I don't think, maybe if human beings were more more responsible, more mature, then maybe it could work. But we're not. Like in the real world, and it just doesn't work, I don't think. And I don't think it ever will. It's a fantasy.
I think really. In the West, it's particularly hard because, just like you were saying earlier, or it's particularly difficult for communism to take root in the West, just for the same reasons we were saying earlier, where we Westerners do not want a perfect environment. We don't want a utopia, right? If everybody had the same shoe, for example, like it doesn't matter how cool the shoe was. It could be the coolest shoe. Like we could vote on it every year. Like, oh yeah, this rapper made the best shoe. And then they just make that one. You get what I'm saying? Like we'd all wear that one badass shoe. I mean, they could try to propagandize it the best they could. Like, oh man, they had a competition and this is Jay-Z's shoe or whatever the fuck, right? And then we all got one. Like it just came to us in the mail through Amazon, right?
Yes.
Still, at the end of the day, like wherever we gathered to have drinks or whatever, we would still be like, oh, you know, like there would be like no way to. It'd be almost hard to.
There'd be no individuality. That's one of my issues.
Exactly.
It'd strip individuality, and me, because I'm mixed race. I grew up in two entirely different environments. Like one was the Asian community, where they're very family orientated. The individual doesn't matter. Like you do what's best for the community. And then I grew up in England, so I grew up in the West. Yeah. And that's a very much individualistic. Like your family doesn't really matter. You still love your family, but it's not like you're not as sort of dedicated to them. But you can pick your own path. And like I see pros and cons to both. Like it's nice to be able to be in a community, to have that sort of support, and they really push each other to the limits and sort of like strive to achieve, and they all stick together. It has its pros, but I like Western culture more, really. Yeah, I grew up in both. I see the benefits of both, but I couldn't give up my individuality. Like, yeah, I couldn't because my dad's a craftsman. He makes things with his hands. I don't like the idea of me growing up and me not having a choice of what I do. As a job that I have to take over the family business, and that's that. Like I want my individuality. I want to be able to make my own choices, to make my own mistakes. But yeah, you don't have the same sort of support. But I enjoy it. But if the West goes full communism, there wouldn't be a place where individuality existed, because other than the West, they're mostly sort of family orientated or like community orientated. So individuality would be stripped. It wouldn't exist anymore. And I grew up alternative. I grew up as a rocker and stuff. And whilst I was still in it, before everyone was essentially just following the same trends, like it very much was about individuality and expressing yourself in whatever way you felt like. And I don't want that to disappear, really. And we would all just be in gray shirts with the same shoes and just being cogs in a machine, like just being robots. We wouldn't even be human anymore, really. And it'd take a massive redistribution of wealth, that like someone could work their entire life and really accumulate lots of wealth and really do well for themselves. And then the idea of someone coming along and saying, I know you've earned all of that, but we're going to take it all away from you and redistribute it to other people. Now, I don't think that's ethical at all. So it just doesn't work to me in multiple different ways. Like maybe once Skynet takes over and all the robots are there,
yeah, that's
like,
the thing.
done, like maybe we could get close to it, but
yeah, we
are
taking
we're not
into
there.
account
You know,
robot-induced.
You know, I never really understood trends. You know, it's like people are, oh, well, I'm an individual, you know, I'm different than everybody else, but I have the same iPhone and iPad and shoes and watch and what the hell else as everybody else out there. Why? Because it's the trendy, cool thing to have. You know, I remember in the 80s, they came out with the Swatch, which was just, a Swatch. It was just a cheap ass watch. But what set it apart from everything else was it was customizable.
Was it that Velcro one?
You could easily change the bands, the faces.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
They were the things for teens in America, anyways, in the 1980s. Everybody had to have one. My sister had 5 or 6. But you know, these people were spending $60 and $70 for a $5 watch.
Yeah,
and I never understood it. And people always gave me crap. You know, in junior high especially, you know, oh, you don't have a Swatch, you're not somebody. And I'm like, why do I want to be like everybody else?
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. You talk about, you know, your creativity and your individualism and all this, and you're acting and behaving and dressing just like everybody else around you.
Yeah. In that scenario, though, you would have been the individual because you didn't follow the trend, and they're essentially just following a trend. But I don't have anything against fashion and sort of and trends like that. I have an issue when they're not honest with it, when they're pretending to themselves, oh, well, I'm an individual. I'm like, well, you're not an individual. You're just following a trend. Like, it's fine to follow a trend if you don't want to be a trendsetter, fine. Like, follow a trend, follow whatever it is that you enjoy, but don't pretend that you're an individual when you're not. Like, if you're an individual, then essentially you're a trendsetter. You're sort of like carving a new path that you've gone off the beaten path or whatever, you know.
Right.
Walking through the woods instead of on the pre-designated road.
I've always prided myself on just being different than everybody else, and it's not that I go out of my way to be different. I just feel that it's more important just to be me.
Yeah, I have seen that on the opposite scale, where like when I growing up and I was in the sort of like rocker community, it's as if people they were kind of like hipster in a way, because they were like, oh, well, that's popular, so I don't like it. Like, even if deep down they did kind of like it, maybe there was a pop song that came out or a rap song or something that came out, and sort of deep down they really enjoyed it, but they couldn't express that to the people around them because it was too popular. It's like, oh, well, that's too popular for me to enjoy, so I need to hate on it. And I found that really dishonest. There was kind of the very opposite end of the scale. So whenever something became popular, they were like, okay, I hate that now. And then it'd just be this constant sort of turning wheel of trying to find the most underground sort of obscure music humanly possible. And it's like, whoa, there's only 10 fans of this band in the world, and I'm one of them. I'm an individual. And then as soon as as soon as they go gold or platinum or something, it's like, oh, they suck now, you know. But I didn't like that. But yeah, just be honest with yourself, I guess, is the message. Just if you like something, then like it, regardless of if it's popular or not, really. And
right. Well, that's ground. I've always really been into automobiles.
Yeah.
And one of the cars that I always hated was the Ford Mustang. I mean, everybody has a Mustang. You see them everywhere. It's
Skidoo away. All about that.
I ended up with my mother's old Mustang. And once I drove it, I loved it. And it's been 4 years. I'm still driving the same car.
Nice. I've always wanted to drive a Mustang, actually.
At least I was honest enough with myself to say, here's a car that I've always hated because everybody else has one. It's the cool, hip car to own.
Yeah.
And I'm actually a proud owner of one now. I enjoy driving it. And, you know, I'm honest enough with myself and everybody else to admit it.
Yeah, it is an important part of your growth, really. I got to that stage as well. For me, it was with music, really, and I broke away from the crowd that I was with before, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna admit that I like different sorts of music. It started off with listening to Eminem, and because he was friends with Marilyn Manson, I liked a lot of his stuff. I saw a lot of similarities between rap and metal, really. That they sort of spoke about the same sort of things, but it's just that metal was a lot sort of heavier music-wise, and it was more about the music, and with rap it was more about the lyrics, and the music was kind of irrelevant. It was just kind of a backbeat, and then I kind of branched off and I started listening to pop music again, and just everything. Whatever came out, I was like, well, I'll listen to. But you need to put it into context. There was a lot of sort of music wars type thing that you'd only hang out with the same, like the people that listen to the same sort of music as you. It was all the rockers on one side and all the chads on another side, and it was ridiculous. It was like some sort of war or something. You couldn't associate with the enemy under any circumstances.
Right.
It was bizarre.
I don't know. I never went through that. I come from a very musical family. Quite a few of us play instruments, and those that don't are just musical lovers.
Yeah.
You know, so I grew up in the 1980s with bluegrass, classic rock, classic country, but then was also into the stuff of my own period, you know, pop, rock, heavy metal.
Yeah.
Later on rap and, you know, just whatever. You know, so I never really I guess I was just raised to look at music as just music and not put any titles or labels on it.
Yeah, that's the best way, really, just to appreciate it for what it is. Like it's either pleasant to your ears or it's not, but it was kind of an identity where I grew up, really.
Right. Well, it is in a lot of places here too.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
Pretty good.
It's going. I'm into 4x4s, yo. I can get where your Camaro can't. Your pavement princess, Mustang can't hang.
4x4s. Yeah.
The Mustang has absolutely no reason to go off road.
It's cool as long as the road gets you where you want to go. This is my friend Kat, guys. You're already seen. Like our whole.
Welcome to Chaos and Coffee. This is a random conversation YouTube show. You can catch us every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I do not want to be on fucking YouTube.
Not too late.
Yeah. we were doing it on Facebook, and then I remembered that Google and YouTube had 10-person video conferences. Yeah. So it's a lot better than just me ranting into the camera. I went live.
So what the fuck is happening, dude? I haven't talked to you in forever. You still doing stand-up?
Yeah, I'm still doing stand-up. I've had a roast battle this coming month in September. There's a roast battle. I'm on a show in October. Just grinding out, I guess, and doing this every week. Oh, I've been doing animation stuff. Like check out my Facebook.
I was just in Bakersfield a couple weeks ago, man. Your Taco Bells are legit.
Our Taco Bells are almost authentic Mexican food. They're really close. If they had horchata at the Taco Bell, it would be it'd be like pretty much legit Mexican food.
Legit Mexican food.
Let me know next time you're in Bakersfield. I do comedy every day of the week, pretty much. It's free shows too. I mean, they're open mics, you know.
You got me scared of Bakersfield. You told me they're violent as hell down there. You told me it's like the murder capital of the country.
It's pretty bad. Was I in DC when that happened? When you came through?
No, you were there. And I was like, hey, man, I'm in Bakersfield. And you're like, dude, you better run. This place is like the murder capital of the world.
Huh. You were just traveling through or what?
Yeah, me and my friend decided we were going to just.
Oh, yeah. I remember this. Okay. Yeah, you should stop by. We have a spare room. We have like a library that's pretty much like a guest room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, like because you know how Bakersfield is. We're kind of like the elbow of it's like where the highway meets other highways, right?
I don't know how Bakersfield is.
Say again?
I don't know how Bakersfield is.
No, I'm saying it's where Highway 5 and 99 and 40 all meet. So people stop by our house from Oklahoma or wherever you want to head through.
Everybody was driving really fast there. It was freaking crazy.
Yeah, we drive fast. Yeah.
Like 65 and people were doing like 90, acting like I was a lunatic for doing like 70.
Oh my God, I'm so there, dude.
I must have been right in the middle of doing something. I must have hung out. Like I must have been right in the middle of doing something, like a doctor's appointment or something.
Man, we went all the way down to Mojave, and then we were like, oh shit, we can see LA. We better turn around now before it's too late.
Oh yeah.
You want to cross the Mojave at night?
Yeah, really. The Mojave Desert.
Otherwise, you'll burn the tires right off the car.
She doesn't want me to talk about her, but she was like, hey, what's coffee and chaos? Let's join that. And then now she's like, I'm going outside.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, I want to get on those sand dunes when I go over to America, to be honest. Get a nice crosser and start doing some jumps.
Yeah, you're going to need my 4x4 to do that.
You know, fuck a 4x4. I just want 2 wheels.
The 4x4 is amazing.
No, 2 wheels all the way.
My problem with 4x4s is I always end up breaking them.
They flip. Like if that shit falls on you, that's gonna crush you.
What you should be inside of it, so it doesn't fall.
Oh, you mean like a full-on bug-in? I thought you meant like a quad.
Yeah, no. She's talking like a pickup truck.
Oh yeah.
Four-wheel drive.
I like the wind in my face. I need to be able to feel the air.
Yeah, I got a Nissan Xterra, 275 horsepower, rear lockers. I don't know what else you want to fucking know about it. 4 liters. It's pretty great.
He's already had his first plan on that.
Oh shit! You guys want to Burning Man update?
Hello?
Okay, I got a host thing. Okay, hey, welcome, Will. Welcome to Chaos and Coffee. You're obviously in a terminal somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the train.
On the train. You can hang out from anywhere. Brooke just dropped. This is Chaos and Coffee, where we're just random conversations. They were just talking about cars and 4x4s, so I tuned out for a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Don't worry. What was the specific part of the conversation?
A lady named Brooke Noble, who's a Microsoft person, dropped in and started ripping into them because they were talking about cars, what she called concrete princesses, or what'd you say, pavement princesses?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And
I didn't want to have to tell her, but my Mustang's a lot faster than that Nissan.
She's over in like Nevada where it's all mountainous, and so yeah, she loves her 4x4, but I don't have a car, so I can talk about the virtues of the city bus.
I have one I have to share.
You don't have that speed rush on a bus though. You need to, once you get that taste of speed, then you don't go by.
Oh yeah, definitely. When I was younger, I used to do quite a lot of street racing.
I like racing,
really miss it.
But after I get off the lights, I don't like to race people. I just as long as I beat them off the lights, I'm like, fine, you can overtake me now. I beat you. I've made people get caught by speed cameras doing that. Like I'd set off, I'd beat them pretty much every time, and I'd pretty much get to the speed limit and then just kind of sit there, and they get really frustrated behind me because they expect me to be racing. They'd overtake me, and then they get caught by a speed camera.
I do that. I do the same thing.
Yeah,
Oh, that's actually pretty good. Yeah.
I'll take you off the line, and I'll accelerate hard up to the speed limit, but then I kind of chill out there.
yeah. It's the best way, really.
Do you guys actually have moments where you are at a stoplight and you just make eyes at the guy, and then you guys are now in a race? Is that just a thing that happens to most people? Because I feel like that's never happened.
Yeah, every traffic light to me. Yeah, if I stop at any traffic light, I get an adrenaline rush, and like, I start like shaking and stuff, and I'm like, I'm ready, sitting at the biting point, just ready to shoot off the lights. Like, I just like that initial rush, really. That's why I like it.
Yeah, it can happen, and it can happen quite a bit if you're driving the right car.
Okay.
Like this Mustang,
that makes sense. You just attract a lot of attention.
Up to a light, somebody wants to race me.
Yeah.
You know, and little Nissan pickups and shit, and I'm like, seriously, dude?
Drag racing one day. That'd be a nice experience. But we don't really have that sort of thing here, really. It's all sort of windy back roads and stuff.
Oh yeah, those are the best roads, though.
Yeah, they are fun, but we just don't like. I guess the grass is always greener on the other side for me. Because I don't really get to do it. I want it.
I'm really into drag racing because I like the big horsepower.
Yeah,
but if I'm out racing, it's a lot more. It takes a lot more skill to negotiate curves and hills.
Yeah, definitely.
So if I'm racing, I prefer a windy road as opposed to a flat one.
Yeah. I guess I'm used to those windy roads. That's all I've had is just windy roads, and they're fun, but it kind of gets dull after a while.
Yeah, I can see that.
Where are you guys from?
I'm from Oklahoma.
Okay. You say, I feel like I don't have windy roads near me ever. Just driving through farmland.
Well, I can go east and I've got all the windy roads I need, or I can go west and it's all flat and straight.
That's perfect.
That's nice. Yeah.
I guess I should introduce everybody. Damn it, I'm being bad. Okay, this is Charles Wisdom, good friend of mine from Oklahoma. Vertex Draco, a notorious computer technician from Techno Expert. I'm not sure what the kids are calling it nowadays. From Britain.
I like Techno Expert.
He's a necromancer from Nottingham. There we go.
There we go.
Will's a fellow comedian who's on a train from Fresno to Sacramento, yeah?
Hanford to Sacramento.
Hanford.
Yeah. Just did a show out at Barmageddon with AJ DeMello, Marcus Peverell, Connor Martin, and John Porter, and Kyrie Shabazz. And that was a good show, actually.
Nice. Who hosted?
Tony and Jeremiah.
Right on. Cool.
They did a solid 10 between each set. Yeah. No, it was fun, though. It was a lot of fun.
It's one of my favorite places on earth. Barmageddon is a gamer bar, so it has like a barcade, so it has arcade games, pool table, air hockey, pretty much every console you can think of. Some emulated games. They'll pull up like internet games on the big screen, where you can like play like Mortal Kombat on a life-size screen. Real fun. They do comedy. They do music. The music there is legit.
They just had Green Machine play there last night.
Yeah, it's a really nice place in Tulare called Barmageddon. Anybody watching, check it out.
Too far.
I'm going to be showing this guy my ticket while you guys continue this. So.
Right on. It turns into a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. No ticket.
Thank you. Cool. We're good. Oh boy.
I like how you're showing off like the one good train we have in America.
Oh, the one? Yeah.
I'm so serious, dude. The Pacific Railroad, not like heading out to the Pacific, but going up and down California, all the way into Oregon, Washington, Canada, is pretty nice compared to anything back east.
Oh, I can see that.
Oh, I promise.
Yeah. I mean, this is the only train I generally take other than the I go to LA and as a family. But yeah, so far this is the one that this one doesn't have a sleeper though, and the ones in Southern California and Arizona, that kind of area, actually have some pretty nice sleepers. But man, this is just the most boring train ride for sure.
It happens.
So what'd you guys get up to last week on Chaos and Coffee, the one I missed?
We did it for like an hour and 40 minutes, man. We talked about all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a crazy month.
Yeah, we had Joe Simpson on, local comedian. And our friend Jesse Monet, another, I wouldn't call him a necromancer, some type of samurai, internet samurai guy.
Yeah.
And we had Kyle Flicker, this guy who got ran over by a car and then got ran over by another car while he's on a motorcycle, and then was at work and the place he was working at exploded and he survived that. So he's just like unstoppable fucking man, like man of scar tissue. He's the Terminator, yeah.
It needs to like it should get ripped really, because then he'd look cool, like with all scars over his body and just like
big as hell,
just being ripped as fuck. It'd look cool, I think.
I think
he's moved now.
He's got his physical therapy, so I mean, like,
yeah.
Oh fuck, I have man.
He's getting shaved.
But, yeah,
I've turned into a health nut now. I've become that guy, the health guy.
So yeah, it was fun. I don't know. It's kind of hard to track what we talked about because I mean, it's like, what do we? You know,
it's just a bunch of random chaos, really.
Yeah,
it's just go all over the place.
We did a bunch of free speech stuff. I think we kind of started out this one doing that too.
Yeah. This the biggest topic at the moment, though, is the freedom of speech and the censorship and stuff. So it's hard to escape it, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty much anything you want to talk about or anything people comment about, you know.
Going back to what you mentioned earlier, we should really start writing down these computer guy analogies, like this guy's a samurai and he's a wizard on Linux and he's a necromancer. Like we need to start like solidifying them or something, like maybe make a picture of it or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, essentially, there's like Sith and Jedi. You know, there's black hats and white hats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got packet loss. We're definitely experiencing some packet loss.
Damn it, UDP! Send them packets.
He's on a train, dude. He's like jumping. The train probably sped up, and now it's jumping from cell tower to cell tower.
Yeah.
Oh, you ain't living in the future. You're living in 2017. You can't be on a train in the hangout.
It's them tunnels. Them goddamn tunnels.
I'm gonna be on Wi-Fi. No, I'll be right back. I'm on Wi-Fi. 1 second.
This is like seriously one of the funniest guys I've met doing comedy. Yeah, he's hosted for a while and he's just a good guy.
All right.
Okay, I think I'm here. All right, I'm totally here.
You didn't drop. I was pretty impressed by that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just needed to, you buy a ticket, they give you some Wi-Fi, I guess.
Oh, nice. Yeah, if you're on their Wi-Fi, you're golden.
Yeah, we'll see.
I never use public Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
You and McAfee.
Like, yeah, right.
Always wanted to go sit in a McDonald's or something with a packet tracer. Right.
That's actually a really fun thing to do, because you can send signals just to shut people's computers down.
Right. Well, I wouldn't do that. I just, find the people that have the open laptops, walk up to them and say, hey, excuse me, but is this your IP address? Here, do this, and walk them through, the IP config to get their IP address and say, oh, look at that. See, I just pulled all your information. Just to educate the end user, right?
Yeah. There's nothing better you can do.
Than educated end
Hey,
user.
to be funny today. Yeah, sorry to mention that I'm really
Timing is everything in funny. You gotta, but like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know shit. But if we experience packet loss, like the funniest thing you say, like that key word, you know how it is, like word selection. I was saying it a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
like the filter, right?
Yeah.
So you'll say the funniest thing, and then we'll miss that one.
Missed the punchline.
We'll miss the
We'll miss the punchline.
So it's always on the punchline. It's the most
It
important.
was last time too. Yeah. This guy last week was telling a joke, and he dropped out right at the punchline. And it's like,
That's almost as funny as the punchline.
See, what you need to do is just tell your joke so that when the punchline comes, you're just ready for nothing to be said. So the punchline can be silent.
Yeah, that's the punchline. Nothing.
Or
that's it. Lots of one-liners.
Yeah, exactly. Just get half a sentence out. You'll be all right.
That's what Hangouts will become, is like people just ripping one-liners.
And the thing about UDP is,
God, that might work on stage with the right audience, man.
yeah, if you have a stage of nerds or something, then it work.
What up, y'all?
I'm gonna
Hey,
have to
bro.
miss all of them.
You know the thing about UDP?
You sometimes.
I guess I didn't really deliver it that well. Packet loss, man.
Packet loss jokes.
There we go.
Yeah, if you really want to
You're all more techie than me, actually. I'd say this whole room is actually more techie than me. That doesn't happen very often.
Oh, well, I'm probably the least techie of all of us. Don't worry about that.
No, I don't think so. You have a tech job, yeah?
Not anymore. No, I'm in
Okay.
sales now.
Oh, fair enough.
Is that for
Yeah.
tax? He's not techie.
well,
I'm kind of techie.
I'm trying to set myself up as a guitar tech. Does that count?
Go for it.
I think that works. Well, you're the techno wizard, so.
My friend just stopped by. I guess like all of his friends who went to Burning Man are having like crazy drama. They all hate each other after one night on the fly.
Peace and
Yeah,
love.
that's what.
Burning
That's
Man
what happened.
right now? Cool. I didn't know. Burning Man, the rugged outdoor adventure.
You know, I was riding around downtown last night. It looks more and more like spring break.
Oh, yeah, it's been gentrified, yeah?
I don't know if it's
I can imagine.
jokes or what, but like it just seems like now it's not the same as it was when I first started going in like 04. Now it's like
Is this drama localized to one group, or is there a bunch of people freaking out on the playa?
oh no, it's localized to like just my neighbors. They went out there together. It's one of their first burns. The others, it's his 10th burn. And then they did mushrooms, and one of them disappeared, and the other got angry, and now they're both talking about coming home because they can't stand the drama. That's what happened.
Okay.
We did mushrooms at like the biggest party in the nation. Like that's what happens.
Yeah, I feel like that's too forced of a good time.
I'd rather eat mushrooms in my living room at this point, at that point in my life.
Yeah. Well, I've had certain scenarios. You just also kind of got to be careful about the people you're around when you're doing that. Because I lived in Stockton, California for quite a while, which is probably basically one of the most miserable cities ever, and some really terrible people there. But we went to a festival. We were all on mushrooms, and one person started freaking out in our big, 10-person tent, and the other person, who I was more worried about, was saying, like, if he doesn't calm down, I'm gonna hog tie him and throw him in the back of my truck. And we're like, no, you're not doing that. And took him out of the tent, and as soon as he got out of the tent, he was fine. So it's just like, you just gotta be some people. Like, some people
your
just
environment, whenever you take hallucinogenics, your environment and the people around you are probably the most important thing about it. Really, you really need to pay attention to where you take them and who you're taking them with, because if you're around anything negative, then they'll start playing on your mind and you'll start having a bad trip. So, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love in your cone.
I do that with any chemical I try for the first time.
Mm.
I always want to be around people who have experience.
Yeah.
So they can handle the situation if I have a bad trip or something, right?
Yeah, I think we had a donkey show once, and it was totally fine. You just gotta like, and nothing is real.
Okay.
And you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had that bad of a trip, but.
No, I was really at a donkey show. It wasn't a hallucination.
No, I know, but I feel like that would throw me into a bad trip.
I mean, it's just reality.
Talking about a donkey show?
You left. You couldn't handle it.
He's on a train.
He's on a train.
Yeah, he's on a train from somewhere to Sacramento. Yep. We tried to explain to him that it's 2017 and not like 2027, where you can just be on a fucking phone and a hangout. But it's cool.
What the fuck is wrong with California, man? You guys are like, seriously, like a fascist state. Like, I can't even.
California like a fascist state. Wow. I don't know about that.
I mean, I tried.
Who's the dictator?
Jerry Brown, this guy that they thaw him out whenever they're in a crisis. They're like, he was a great governor back in the 70s, and they froze him like Walt Disney. And whenever we have a crisis, they unthaw him. So like sometime in the 80s, they unthawed him, and he was governor. And then most recently, after Arnold Schwarzenegger, they thawed out Jerry Brown, and he's the governor right now. For the time being.
So crisis, a lack of common sense. Is that what's happening in California?
What specifically are you referencing? What part of our which policy or whatever?
So I crossed the California border like 2 weeks ago to go camping, and in order to have a campfire, I had to like attend an online class, obtain a permit, like take a test, carry a shovel and like 4 gallons of water. And also, like, they get a permit for us going. It's crazy, dude. Like, everything requires a permit. My guns aren't legal in California. What is wrong with you guys?
What's not legal? Guns?
The guns, fires, camping, fucking, even 4x4ing. I was like, oh my god, these rules are so confusing. I need a spark arrestor. What the fuck is a spark arrestor?
It's health and safety more than fascism, and it's health and safety.
I think you have to have a permit.
Crazy.
We did have a drought for quite some time, so that did it. You can have a gun. You can bring a gun into California. You can have guns in California.
Yeah, that's not actions away from firing and well away from the range of anybody who can use it.
Yeah,
well,
you have to.
California, too, also forces all semis coming into the state to be stopped and inspected for cleanliness.
Yeah,
amongst other things. But yeah, if they pop the hood on that semi and they find a little bit of grease or something on the block, they make you wash it before you can bring it into the state.
California's a republic, okay? And the only thing I can say about it is that we have some very unique rules that I'm not even aware of. You guys are just now making me aware of them. So,
Well,
Right.
even like you have to keep your hands. If you're on a bicycle, you have to keep your hands on the handlebars at all times. But you also have to signal, and you can get a ticket for doing or not doing it. At least in my hometown.
Whatever happened to personal responsibility? Like,
I don't know.
we're like, oh, do what you do, but like, remember you're responsible for what you do. In California, it's like, do what you do, but obtain a permit, get permission, pay the fine, and then like maybe you can do it. Take your call.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just about.
we do need a return to personal responsibility. I agree with the
Right.
It's gone too far now.
The problem, though, that very few people actually want to take responsibility.
the problem
Yeah,
is in California, with firing guns or with starting fires, okay, is that we've had extreme drought. So a couple guys firing guns out in the woods, or a couple of family members camping, right, will cause a fucking forest fire that spreads like hundreds of thousands of acres and destroys like a city. You know what I'm saying? So we're a little bit cautious about fire. And
I
fire
can imagine the fire that over here it's a lot wetter. We don't really have a chance of causing a giant forest fire. Like, I can understand, like, maybe they shouldn't be as strict, but I can understand why they put
We have
regulations.
designated fire pits. We have barbecue pits, more specifically, right? We have barbecue pits for people to cook on.
It applies to camp. Wow. And it's helping people camp stove, and I need a permit to operate that stuff.
They said you needed a permit to operate a camping stove.
Yes.
There are places that do. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Again, that's fire.
Yeah, man. See, maybe I'm just not up on this because I don't go camping enough. You know, maybe that's me. I'm sorry about that, or I apologize for not knowing this shit.
It's.
So yeah,
I
maybe
was gonna say I know that.
fascist state. I don't know.
That being said, Nevada is your neighbor. We've been through the same drought and all of that. And we've managed to not set our state on fire every year by like enforcing personal responsibility. If you go out there and you set the state on fire, like,
Nevada's a desert and 2 lakes. Like, that's what it is. Like, it's a desert and 2 lakes. You know, like a city or two.
Yeah.
People literally, maybe I don't know this because we all go out to Lake Tahoe and we all go out to Nevada to camp and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, I know that the 2 fires found the people that are straight, like either accidents, just people firing off fireworks, like 13-year-olds with bottle rockets, and there are people who start fires because they think it's fun. The one that was last year was the one that was probably the most, or 2 years ago was the one that I remember where they caught them like right away, like before they finished putting out the fire.
like 90% of fires are caused by people, right? Like 90% of wildfires. But
Yeah.
I feel like California's like put all that burden on like the government to regulate the risk, whereas like other states like Nevada and Oregon, the states neighboring California, are like, oh no, this risk relies on the individual, and if you set the state on fire, you're going to pay for whatever damage that causes.
Yeah.
You know.
I used to work for a fire support thing where I was supposed to be plotting maps for dropping sand and water and stuff. And yeah, it's a goddamn hassle. Like everyone's just pissed off to be there anyway. It's yeah, sorry, unrelated.
It's like, I mean, I carry a shovel and a fire extinguisher, and I've got like water near my fire, and I mean, you know, the drown and stir method. And I mean, I take responsibility for like preserving my wildlands, but it's like really frustrating whenever I like try and go into California that like my entire like plans have to the regulations of this like, state. It feels constricting and full of anxiety.
I can understand
Oh,
that.
is that my? I was gonna say, is that my packet lost? It's in. Okay, cool.
I think she was. I was here when she was saying it causes a lot of anxiety to have to deal with restrictive laws when you go into a state, especially to vacation. I can totally empathize with that.
It's not
And yeah,
fast
it
yet.
is, it is weird going into California. It's because they ask for that they search your car for any number of reasons. Charles was saying they make semi trucks spray down their engines.
Yeah. Well, I do have a theory. If we're talking about how California feels restrictive, I just think good weather makes people suck. Like, there's no sense of unity. Like, we're gonna get through this together.
In California,
places that are cold like Montana and shoot, even Nevada, it gets freezing out there. It's I feel like there is a little bit less here, so maybe people just care just a little bit less about each other here.
I think there's California has a couple elements going on, which create a lot of tension. You know what I'm saying? In California,
specifically,
yeah. Specifically, there's oh man, I don't know how to really phrase this other than to use some Marxisms here.
Getting taken over by the commies.
Yeah, it's a bear following a star. Okay, it's a bear following a star. So like, there's a lot of really great social policies in California that like, there's a great social safety net in California, no doubt.
Yes.
Right. Okay, yes. But there's a lot of rules that limit people to how large their gun magazine can be. We definitely have some of the most stringent emission laws on our cars.
It's 9 rounds. It's 9 rounds. You're only allowed to have 9
rounds. Yeah, we're allowed to have 10 rounds. 1 in the chamber and 9 in the magazine or something like that.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty limiting. There's lots of limitations in California. I live here because my wife's family's from here. Oregon is a very it's weird, like a very liberal in the sense of liberty state. Like, there's still conservatives, of course, but even like conservatives and liberals love guns. You know, that's one of the things I've learned from playing Democracy 3, a wonderful video game on Steam. I'd like to take this moment to promote Democracy 3.
Yeah, it's a good game.
It's a great game. Yeah,
but check that one out.
Because liberals and conservatives love guns. When you try to like make more stringent gun laws, liberals and conservatives get pissed.
Liberal isn't the antithesis to conservative, though. Progressive is the antithesis of like the opposite to
there's
conservative is progressive. You can be liberal and conservative. Well, by the actual definition, like if you're actually going by what a liberal actually is, rather than what these authoritarians claim themselves to be, because a lot of the social justice warriors, that in actuality they're authoritarians and they pretend to be liberals. They don't believe in individual freedom at all. They want to restrict. What?
Fascists. You're a bunch of fascists, those SJWs. Bunch of fascists.
They're close to it, but I think the word fascism is thrown around too often nowadays. Just like the word racism is thrown around too much.
What do you mean? They want to make it offensive. They want to make it illegal to like be offensive. Anything that's offensive should be outlawed.
Yeah, there's authoritarian.
That's the direction of the movement at the moment. And I'm one of those marginalized people, and it like pisses me the fuck off, like beyond belief. It's so annoying to like always be lumped in with these SJWs and their radical extremist beliefs. I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it as well. And I think these social justice warriors are the biggest threat that we face at the moment, because if we lose freedom of speech, if we start to allow them to get what they want, that's going to be essentially the start to the end of the Western civilization as we know it, and we'll descend further and further down, and it will be extremely hard to get out of it. Like once they get what they want, we're fucked, basically.
You can't see me, but I'm nodding in agreement.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm telling you, and what scares me the most is to see the movement growing
Yeah.
and gaining traction, and like from there, where are we going to go, and who's going to decide what's offensive in the future? And even so, I don't give a fuck. You know what? Like, I like the whole idea of self-sustainability, self-reliance. Like, that's why I'm pro-firearm. Like, if I'm out in the middle of the wilderness, I deserve the right to be able to defend myself against a apex predator, you know, and not to, like, rely on emergency services to get there to help me when a bear or a wolf or a mountain lion is trying to eat me, you know?
Yeah.
Or more than likely another person trying to murder me, you know?
I do strongly believe in individuality of personal responsibility, and I don't think the government should. I don't think the government should be restricting what individuals can do. I think governments should be there, if anything, to restrict corporations from forming monopolies and abusing the citizens. That the government are our slaves, essentially. That they belong to us. They're our property, and in theory, anyway. in practice, they act like overlords and rulers. That's not what they are. They're there to protect us, and they're not doing their job at the moment. At the moment, it's like they're serving the corporations and restricting the people. And I might be a conservative capitalist, but I'm not a free market capitalist. I don't believe in the free market at all. That we should be restricting businesses. I still think we should be able to create our own businesses. I don't think we should have too many restrictions. I don't even think that we should have corporate tax. Or if we do, then it should be as low as humanly possible. Yeah, because we should be encouraging businesses to stay in their country, like rather than outsourcing all our jobs to China, so they end up getting all the manufacturing. We should be encouraging businesses to stay in America, in England, and to keep those jobs here. But if the taxes on corporations are too high, then to keep the prices down, they don't have a choice but to outsource it out. So yeah, we need government regulations, but for businesses, I think
corporations will look for like whatever's cheapest, right? Like, so
yeah,
it doesn't matter. They'll look for like whatever. I mean, but personally, I'm a progressive. I don't know another word to tack onto this, but I think instead of like finding solutions to like make a problem okay, we should like solve the problem at its root. And there's plenty of solutions out there, and there's plenty of brilliant people on this planet, and we need to be like propping those people up into positions of authority instead of propping up populists. I think the whole idea of like a populist-ran government is madness. It's just pure madness. Like, oh, this guy appeals to me, so I'm going to vote for him. It doesn't matter if he knows what he's talking about or if he knows what he's doing or not. We need like people who are qualified to understand the science and the implications of the decisions they're making, and not operating on a basically a election cycle.
That's why I believe in a meritocracy. I don't believe in democracy at all. I think democracy is mob rules, and I think it's complete madness. In a meritocracy, it'd be only the most experienced and intelligent rule, and I imagine it to function more like a direct democracy, where the individuals and groups get more decisions rather than just having elected representatives. Like, we should have more controls. But say like in like, say if there was going to be some sort of regulation or something that they needed to decide in like the medical world or something, then doctors, nurses, and anyone that's relevant to what's going on should have more of a say than Joe Blogg's road sweeper down the street that doesn't have a clue about how it works from the inside. So I do very much believe that only the intelligent in each area should be making decisions. I don't think everyone else shouldn't have a choice. I just think that the people with the most sort of wisdom and experience in those areas should get more of a say than everyone else. It'd be difficult to implement, but I think it'd be worth it. It'd make for a better society, and there'd be more logical decisions made, I think, rather than emotional ones and people being like, I've got an opinion. It's like, yeah, but they don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, our media is totally biased. People associate me as a liberal all the time, and like, I can't even stand CNN lately because they're just like, it all feels like propaganda. Everything feels like propaganda, and like there's no real informed discussion going on. It's just like fucking free for all of opinions that are based on just pure like knee-jerk reactions. It's all off the cuff. Yeah. It's entirely like it's insane. It's insane.
There is way too much propaganda, and I see propaganda on both sides as well. No matter what side you're on, I see propaganda just leaking out, and it's becoming more difficult to find people that actually speak their mind rather than just pushing an agenda. It's why I'm going more towards alternative media and stuff. I don't trust the mainstream media at all. Like they're the legacy media, as far as I'm concerned. That they're outdated. And the nail in the coffin for me was when they went after PewDiePie, and I watch a lot of his videos. And when they started slandering him, I already knew they lied anyway. I already knew that they pushed propaganda. It's just that when you see them do it to someone that you know that much, that you watched a lot of their videos, you see the inside of their mind, you're in on the joke sort of thing. When you see them come along, and they literally took one of his videos was him mocking the media of taking things out of context. And then sort of like they took that video of him saying, look at them taking things out of context, and then he dresses as a Nazi and stuff to kind of make the point and make a joke about it. And then they take that joke and take it out of context. Those guys must have sat through and watched that video and go, oh, taking things out of context away. I'll take that and I'll take it out of context. I'm like, how did you expect that to go down? And the worst thing is like, I think it was Paul, I can't remember who did it, but they were going through these guys, the reporters, they was going through their Twitter, and there was like, oh, well, you've slandered him for making apparently anti-Semitic jokes and stuff and hating Jews. These guys actually made anti-Semitic jokes, on their own. So they're hypocrites. They're criticizing him for making jokes that they themselves have made. It's gone complete madness to me, and that was the final nail in the coffin for me. I was like, that's it. They're completely dead to me. They could say the grass is green, and I'd start questioning my eyesight. That's how much I don't trust them.
I've had luck working with my local government. As a
that's good.
woman here in Reno, Nevada, we had a law in the books when I came that if you wanted to get your name changed or your gender marker changed at our state, you had to submit that change in the newspaper and publish it for 2 weeks. And if anybody within those 2 weeks decided to object to your name change, you would have to have a day in court to do it. So I made a case to my local representatives and my local government and my governor about how it's a safety concern. I don't want that published in a newspaper because there's people out there who are like, oh, well, I don't agree with this, and now they know where I live. Because
it's none of their business, really. Whatever, if you want to change your name or whatever else, it's just none of their business, I don't think.
So without dragging me into it, and without making an ordeal about it, they just changed the law.
Yeah.
I reached out to them and I talked to them personally, and they just changed the law. There was no opposition to it. They just changed it.
Local government's where it's at, really. They should be given a little bit more power, but a lot of people don't seem to realize that you can actually make change. If you were to, even in England, if you were to talk to your local MP or whatever, then you can make a lot of change just by doing that. So, but people don't.
So I'm planning on running for office here pretty soon. Our next cycle, I think gonna go for just like a local like county position, like on our county commission, and see how that goes, and get my feet wet with the politics, and if that goes well, then I think I'll go for like a statewide office. And if the statewide office goes good, then I think I'm going to go for a full-on federal position. And I think that's what more millennials need to be doing. People who are in their 30s right about now, we need to be thinking about seizing government positions, because we're coming to age where it's us who are inheriting the power.
Yeah.
And if we're not engaged in that and we're not active in that, and we think that just going to protests and signing petitions and things like that is gonna influence the future of our society, we're really wrong.
Yeah.
We're really wrong. It's gonna fall into the hands of, like, most local offices go uncontended. Like local judges go uncontended. I have a friend who got elected in the next county over from me, over in Verdi, because there's no other judge on the ticket. It was a 50-50 chance for him to get elected. And he did.
That reminds me of a saying. It was somewhat of an extension of another saying, and I saw it on one of those rip-off calendars, and what you just explained reminded me of that. It was, if you can't beat them, join them, and then beat them. And I really like the addition to that, because the original one just ended it, if you can't beat them, join them, which kind of preaches you just bending over and being like, oh, well, don't stick to your beliefs, just become one of them. But adding the and then beat them, it kind of encourages you to keep to your own morals. And yeah, like you said, if you don't like the government, then we should start essentially invading the government to start taking their jobs, taking the positions in there, and then just getting what we want instead of just bending over to them. We should beat them from the inside, really.
I'm 31 years old, and I know virtually nobody my age who believes it's a possibility to run for office. Like, virtually nobody even considers that as a possibility for something they can do with their life. And that means that there's basically a single person on the ticket, as far as local government goes, who is being elected term after term after term because they're uncontended. There's nobody there to be like, oh, I'll compete with that. And if we're upset about the way the world is ran, I feel like we have ourselves to blame because we're not involved. We feel like our involvement is as much as, oh, I'm just gonna like complain, or I'm gonna make a Facebook post, or I'm gonna like write this person who ran uncontended about how
I'll change my profile picture.
I mean, we have that power to run, and it's not a matter of beating them. It's a matter of representing our demographic, and we are becoming the largest capitalist force in the world right now. Millennials are making up more and more of the consumer market, and more of the people who are living in a society that's ruled by the government. And if we don't represent ourselves, somebody else will. And how are we ever going to be happy with somebody else that does not represent our beliefs, or just spend their whole lives complaining? We need people who from our class who represent us, and that's the nature of democracy. It's not necessarily like democracy is madness, like you were saying earlier. Like it's we just need valid representation, and I don't think we're getting that.
I think it's somewhat encouraged as well for people. I think they encourage the belief that people can't run, or it's not a realistic thing to believe that you can get into government, or you can start sort of like running, taking jobs sort of like locally on a federal level or at all, because then those people that do get in unelected, it's beneficial for them to not have any competition. Then their jobs are safe, and they're going to keep their position over and over again, and the status quo stays, like that. Nothing changes for the better, or things just keep on heading down a progressively worse and worse sort of road. But again, unless we actually start getting in,
who do we have to blame for that? It's not the
ourselves.
Who are taking that position, but it is ourselves. It is you and me and you, Justin, and whoever else is in here. If we're not happy with things that are happening, and we're doing nothing to change it, then we can only blame ourselves. I remember like hearing something, like meeting a bunch of French people at Burning Man who like had this negative image of Americans, and they explained to me basically, if America's a democracy, then you have a responsibility to shape that democracy. And our action in that seems to be very limited. Like we were saying, people think it's unrealistic to run for office.
Mm.
But there are these limitations or requirements to run for office. You know, you just have to win the vote. So
recently,
well, hey, I agree with everything that you're saying there on
I agree
principle.
too. Yeah,
and
add to it.
And it's a great idea. However, I have family that is in government, local town government, nothing major. And what I hear about most from them is that anybody who gets in there that has the idea that they're going to do the right thing and they're going to uphold their morals does not stay in office long. Because once you get in, you're surrounded by such corruption and selfishness and selling out to the man with the highest dollar that you can almost never get anything done. And you will be forced out.
Yeah, we have that in Reno too, or in Nevada.
So I'm not too sure that being a part of the institution is going to solve anything.
I think you can at least make a dent in it.
Why can't you take that information that you get as an insider and make it public? To be like, hey, I'm being persecuted, or I'm being ostracized from performing my duties as a public servant because I'm trying to uphold these reasons that you elected me to represent. Why can't you like name names and call out businesses and lobbyists and things like that are working against you? Why can't you?
Because they call that whistleblowing. And especially if, who you're reporting it to. It's like if you see a cop doing something illegal, right? You call up the police station and you're reporting. You're just telling his friends, especially on a local level. You know, you're reporting this to the guy who owns the local newspaper, who also owns the local banks, who also owns whatever, right? He's not going to be interested in publishing anything you say. Well, and if he does, they'll make you out to be a crackpot. You know, don't listen to this woman. She's just so crazy and insane. She really thinks there's this big conspiracy going on, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's a really difficult thing.
Well, for me, I've established myself as a credible journalist in my local community who's looking out for my local community's interests. And it's not so much with an agenda as to say, hey, when you spend money here, this is what's happening with that money. And just giving people the sight to see what's happening when they're doing business locally, right? So that they can make an educated decision about where they want to spend their money. And
I agree with that.
I mean, I think as a politician, I might have the ability to just, I don't know, fuck it. The Good Old Boy Association come out and be like, hey, this tranny is like fucking working against jobs in Nevada. And I'll be like, you know what, this fucking organization is counterproductive to like what's in our best interest as a society. And I think I can make my case. And if I can't, then I can't, and they won't re-elect me. But if I can, then I could influence change in one state out of 49, out of 50, right? And hopefully that'll grow. Hopefully we'll start to see movements in other states where people about my age start saying, hey, you know what, I could do something similar. And then I have constituents in a Congress and in a Senate where we can start to influence the change that is in our interest.
This is one of the reasons why I think that the punishment for corruption should be the death penalty, as far as I'm concerned. That any corruption on any level, no matter how big or small, I think it should be the death penalty. But I've always been an advocate for the death penalty, really.
That's my point right now. Well, right there is that they're all corrupt.
Together. Purge the unclean.
South Korea, they keep impeaching their presidents for like the smallest of infractions. Like, oh my God, they use government funds to pay for their nanny. We've got to impeach this president today. Fuck this president.
They just get a slap on the wrist, though. That's the most annoying thing, is that, like, if I was in government, I think if anyone was in government and you knew that if you were to steal from the taxpayers, if you were to be corrupt in any way, if you would start doing really underhanded, dirty things, if you knew the only thing that you'd get would essentially be told to resign and then you just get a new job, you essentially just get a slap on the wrist, why wouldn't you? Most people would. Most people, regardless of their morals, would be like, well, I may as well do it.
That's not the case. That's not the case in all nations. Like, if you look at, what was it, Iceland? They like had a grassroots movement that came up and like ended up pressing charges and putting everybody involved in that banking corruption behind bars. If you look at countries like South Korea, where they hold their officials to a higher standard, and when they like
the CEO of Samsung's going to prison, yeah.
But then you got to think,
and
the taxpayers are forking out to keep those people alive. That you're spending money to keep criminals behind bars, essentially, what, for the rest of their life or most of their life or something. It'd be a lot cheaper and more efficient just to hang them or something. They'd send a message to the rest of the people, look, if you fuck up, then you're going to get it.
Okay, rather than hang all the politicians, which isn't a bad idea necessarily, but I want to interject just for a second about a way to actually do positive change, even if we lose, right? Like you were saying, run locally, Brooke. I totally agree with that, because even if you lose, you still have to have the ability to push the platform. Like the opponent, the person you're running against, has to acknowledge your platform and possibly modify their own. So like in the case where Bernie Sanders lost, Hillary Clinton still had to present a Democratic platform that was progressive. You know what I'm saying? Like it does behoove us, especially people in their 30s, to run for local government, to try to push a platform of anti-corruption. That's a good platform to have, you know?
Yeah, it makes it.
It's hard to push hanging in America because we don't hang, or we basically inject people with drugs and they go to sleep. That's like the major way America kills people. I think if we started euthanizing politicians, it would definitely send a clear message.
Yeah,
you just got to use the right words. You can't say hang. You have to say euthanized, and then people go, "Oh, euthanized. That's nice. You send the politician to a spot."
Yeah, I should flower up my language, but I'm not the sort of person to do that.
I think you and Vertex are both totally wrong here, and that a civilized society doesn't institute the death penalty or put people behind bars for the rest of their life and like pay a bill. I think even if you are paying that bill for the rest of somebody's life, it is a nominal fee to be paying to like rid the corruption from the institution that is like charged with the task of supporting the infrastructure of our society. It's no big deal to be like, oh, we're going to spend $50,000 a year to keep this guy behind bars. Like that is really like that's a fucking liberal fucking guesstimate of what it costs to keep somebody behind bars. We have capitalist ways to like reduce the cost of incarcerating somebody.
Why pay anything though? Why pay at all? That's my thing, and that not only that, you'd suffer more in prison a lot of the times. What they're going to get beaten up, they're going to get raped, they'll get boiling water thrown over their face. It's arguable to say that it's more humane just to have a brief moment of pain and then just to end it, and then the taxpayer doesn't have to fork out any bill. It's the cost of what, rope?
As somebody who owns firearms, I am not for the death penalty. I think a civilized society does not execute the convicted. I think we have the means and the ability.
Well, a civilized society should let them rot in prison, essentially.
No, they don't rot. They do free labor in America. According to the 15th Amendment.
The idea of prison is to rehabilitate. So if we can, we rehabilitate. But in cases where like somebody has
rehabilitate corrupted politicians, though.
Well,
I agree with rehabilitation altogether. It's just that with certain things,
gotta make it a little bit humorous. Okay, inject humor.
Sort of like redemption.
Prison has never rehabilitated anyone.
Yeah, in America,
it makes people worse. We're gonna have super politician criminals when they get out. Yeah.
Our model of prison does not work in the United States because it's not about rehabilitation. It's about profit. And as somebody who's been arrested and into that justice system twice now, I can tell you, it favors people who have money to hire lawyers. If you can hire a lawyer, your chances of getting convicted reduced by like 90%. It is absurd. It's
privatized. You need the government to be in control of the prisons, which means that the prisons won't be profitable if the government is in control of them. Then the government is forking it out. It's more ethical. I do believe that the government should be in control of the prisons, but that means that the taxpayers are forking out the bill, and that privatized prisons incentivizes people to go back to the prison because they need prisoners to fill those seats, really, to earn a profit.
I totally agree. A prison should not be profitable. It should be about rehabilitating and creating a better society, taking people who do not integrate into society and helping them integrate into it. There are models of this working within Scandinavian countries where they do not go to the extremes that we do. You know, if you get arrested in America, they literally threaten you with rape. They literally tell you you're going to go to prison and be raped.
I know. And I hear that from people that supposedly are against it. I'm like, they try and get around it by saying things like, oh, well, I'm not saying they should get raped, but I wouldn't be sad if he did get raped. And they're trying to like mentally maneuver around the fact that they're essentially justifying that part of his punishment is going to be rape. And like this is why, like, a lot of the times, if you're going to spend life in prison, why? Like, if you're going to spend an entire lifetime in prison, it's better just to kill them. It's more humane for them, because then
if we change
you're mentally torturing, mentally, physically, and sexually torturing them for the rest of your days.
And the model that is built on now is about that. Last time I was arrested, the officer who arrested me told me that I was going to have a lot of fun in prison and that I was going to be raped. He literally threatened me with rape. And that doesn't like inspire me to be a better citizen or to conform. It just makes him my enemy. It just makes the people in the prison my enemy. And that's not the way to make people work and accept society better, to work better with people. We have to like fix our judicial system, and it annoys the fuck out of me that in the United States we refuse to look at models of countries, models that other countries have set up where their judicial system is actually reducing violent crime and repeat offenders. It's absurd that we're like, oh, that seems like it's rewarding him. We don't care if it's giving them better results. It seems like that murderer is getting a good treatment. And it's really about like vengeance versus justice.
Dude,
you know,
that's because we've all been brainwashed into thinking that America is the greatest country in the world, and whatever we have is the most awesome and the most wonderful, and what everybody else has is shit.
There's another problem that goes to the privatized prisons. In some areas, they rely on the fact that essentially they get slave labor out of the privatized prisons. That there are certain areas that if they didn't have that privatized prison, sort of creating the sort of cheap labor, their town had just, they wouldn't have anything. It'd crumble into dust. You need to sort of stimulate business in that area. You'd need to encourage entrepreneurs to go in there. You'd need people to start setting up businesses. They'd need to be self-reliant, because you're essentially taking a source of income for that entire sort of town, city, or whatever.
It's not even that. I can tell you, last time I got arrested, I was in my attorney's office. He explained to me how the system works in Nevada. And in Nevada, we actually have a contract with the private prisons where if we don't keep them at a certain capacity, we pay a penalty. We pay more if there's less inmates in that prison than that prison is expecting. Mm-hmm. So there's almost a pressure to our government to ensure that that prison is full, that we're paying that capacity. And it's fucking madness. That's not the way a society should run. That's fucking madness. Like, oh, we need to have at least this many people locked up, or else we're going to be losing money. We're going to lose money if we don't have enough people locked up. Mm. That's crazy.
And until you bring more business back to the US, then it's going to be extremely difficult to get rid of that corrupt system.
We need to stop worshiping money in this country. Money is useful, but it seems like in the US, it's its own religion. If you have money, you have the power. You can do whatever you want to. If you don't have any money, well, you're just screwed.
I agree with you.
And people devote their entire lives to amassing more and more and more of it. You know, it's like here, you know, we're gonna give corporations a big ass tax break so that they can create more jobs. Well, the thing is, the people that own those corporations make $1.5 million a day. If they wanted to create jobs, they could. And giving them more money and allowing them to keep more of their massive wealth is not going to help.
So what you're saying has been my conclusion lately for at least the past 2 years, in which the only way to influence change in the society is to possess enough resources to influence. Like, look at the way Tesla, right? Fucking Elon Musk has shifted the narrative of electric cars, of mass transit, of green energy in general. Like, his company, he has the
resources. Yes, I applaud the man.
This narrative, right? So if you want to be there, you've got to have the resources to promote that narrative. So we have a lot of people who have a lot of resources who aren't promoting any sort of beneficial narrative. So if you're not going to run for office, I say seize as much resources as you can, seize as much influence as you can, and then exploit that towards an agenda that actually benefits our future. Otherwise, your grandkids are going to be growing up in a real shit world. It's going to be a real shit world.
That's why I want to get into business, really. I think that it's, on one hand, it can be toxic to have this sort of worshiping money sort of attitude, but it's equally as toxic on the flip side to completely reject money, to go, well, I'm morally superior to accumulating money, and I'll be a really dignified poor person for the rest of my life. But the problem with that is that you don't make any impact in the world whatsoever. That, like Elon Musk is one of my idols, essentially, with the stuff that I didn't know how I felt about him at first, but the more that I looked at him, the more I respected him, really, and that he is someone that has essentially accumulated power and wealth and has used it for good, really. And the more people that do actually have a conscious, that do want to do something good, should I say, the more people that accumulate wealth like that, people I'd like to think like us that would do something good with that power. We'd need more people like that. Otherwise, all the rich people are going to be like George Soros that are essentially just corrupt pieces of shit, really, that are negatively influencing the world, thinking that is doing something good. Essentially, really delusional old people that came from, like, maybe in his heart of hearts, it means well, but he comes from another world, like a completely, like, the world he used to live in is gone. It's gone and it's never coming back. And he's not adjusted to the way things are now. And it's like
there's some good rich people too, yeah.
Yeah,
like
they are
Elon
rich
Musk
people.
and,
I'm not against Ben Shapiro. He's rich. I respect him.
Is he rich? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's technically in the 1%. Ben Shapiro. And there's Elon Musk. There are a lot of rich people that do good things, but we need more people that are willing to accumulate power. Like, I ended up into an argument with one of my real life friends that he posted this quote about that all you need is love, and anyone that wants to accumulate power is going to do something evil with it. And I'm like, what? Now, I tried to make the point that, well, that's not true. Say like Elon Musk, for example, he's working on SpaceX. NASA doesn't have a budget anymore. There isn't anyone other than Elon Musk that is trying to learn how to get to Mars, to terraform planets. Like, if we want to survive as a species, we need to learn how to terraform other planets. We need to expand further and further out. And you need power to do that, really. So
there's more going on in space right now than there has been in the last 30 years. It's not just Elon Musk. There is a huge revitalization in the space program.
Okay.
And I feel like it's because of him, though, that's happening.
If you're new to the show,
that's time.
That means it's time. So here we go. Thanks to all the viewers, everybody who commented, and of course, thanks for our guests. Just stick around real quick. We're going off air. There's going to be conversations still. It's just not going to be recorded. That's just, sorry. That's just how it works.